All right, so why don't you guys tell me who you are and what you're working on?
Okay, I'm John Hand. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for the product we call Knowledge Network.
All right.
And my colleague.
And my name is Glen Anderson, and I'm the Group Program Manager for the Knowledge Network.
Great. So what are we going to see today? What's Knowledge Network? What's that all
So
about?
Knowledge Network, in a nutshell, is the ability to take like a MySpace type of thing and make it available to an organization. So it stays within a company's firewall. So it creates a social network based on who you know and what you know.
I've heard a lot about social networks these days.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
So when you think about it, the two things that you bring, every individual brings two sets of skills to work every day. They bring what they know, so the skill set that they're hired on, and then who they know, or their social network. So the way to think about it is you have a set of skills that you basically put on your resume that you used when you get hired. But the what you know is really more interesting because it helps explore your social network and how you get things done. And so you might get hired based on what you know, but you get promoted based on kind of who you know because in effect it helps you getting, in terms of getting your job done.
The age-old...
It's not who you know, it's what you know.
Yeah. So this Knowledge Network is a way to help sort of determine who you know in the organization, or
Yeah.
what? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to describe it is it creates an automated profile. And the automated profile is actually derived from mostly from your email threads, but we use what we call digital clues.
Okay.
So the email threads extract keywords and key contacts that you know, either externally or internally to your organization, and then makes it available to the entire organization. So if you think about...
Wait a minute, so my email?
Yeah, so that's always the big
That sounds scary.
Yeah, that's a big question. A lot of people talk about, Big Brother, and I have a Big Brother, and I love my Big Brother, so I don't think it's an issue. But no, in honesty, when we looked at this, in fact, Glenn could probably do it more justice, but when we looked at this, we had to look at the privacy model from the United States and outside the United States. So in the United States, if you're not familiar, everything on the machine that's owned by Microsoft is owned by Microsoft. Even my holiday pictures and my music and all that information that's on there is considered a Microsoft asset. Outside the U.S., almost universally, especially in Europe, the rules are exactly the opposite. So they would own the asset itself, but anything other than IP that's on that machine that belongs to the organization is owned by the individual. And so we had to have a security model that met both ends of that spectrum. And so what we've come up with is what I call NCC, or Notification, Control, and Consent. So the first phase of that notification is when you install the software itself, you get sort of an onboarding process that asks you which folders do you want to include in the email thread, or an analysis thread, I should say.
Okay, so there's a software piece on my client that I would install. Okay.
There's two pieces of software.
Okay.
The client piece and then the server piece. In fact, I can show you what my profile manager looks like if I open it up here.
Okay.
And the profile manager.
Oops, I'm looking at the wrong screen.
That's okay. I'm going to bring it up over here.
Oh, you are?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to switch back.
So let me go over here. Bring up my profile manager. And this is where, after you've uploaded your profile, you can go in and manage the content that's in your profile. So this is actually...
So what am I looking at here? This is the Knowledge Network Profile Manager?
This is the Knowledge Network Profile Manager. As I mentioned, there's two pieces of software.
Okay.
One sits on the server, one sits on the local client. The two main functions of the client piece is that it'll create the analysis,
right,
and it will enable you to manage your profile. Okay. So what we're looking at here is my colleagues list, and you can see actually Glen is on here as my number 2 contact, and I can look at Glen and I can see his details here. He's our group program manager.
Sure.
And then we've also exchanged mail. Our first mail was actually back in April of 2005, and our most recent mail is just yesterday. And we've exchanged a total of 2,074 mails.
Wow. Okay.
So, but if I wanted to, you notice here it says work group. That's actually derived from the Active Directory.
Okay.
So Glenn and I work in the same work group.
Right.
But if I wanted to, I could actually make him not part of the work group, and then visibility-wise, if I set my visibility to only people in my work group, then Glenn would not be able to see information about me.
So let me ask you, is this part of, how does this software, what's it part of? Is it part of Office or part of Windows or what?
Yeah, it's an add-on to SharePoint, actually.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be making it available later this fall. as Office 2007 ships. We'll make it available as a free download. So anyone who has a CAL for SharePoint, either the standard CAL, the core CAL, or any of the expanded CALs, it'll be free of charge to them to download this and add additional people search to their network.
Okay, so it's part of the Office server then.
So I want to talk a little bit more about how it works because it was a good question around privacy, because that's
Sure.
when we've talked to hundreds of customers about Knowledge Network, and they're really excited about it, but when we talk about mining email, the first reaction is Big Brother.
Yeah, right.
And, John might like his Big Brother, but I don't have a Big Brother.
And it sounded like more,
And I don't want one.
it sounded like more than email too that it looks at.
Yeah, well, the other stuff is probably secondary.
Okay.
So it's important to understand how it works and why we designed it the way we did. So
Right.
we crawl through emails in order to extract who you know, so your contacts and what you know, your keywords. And we made a design decision, to do that on the user's client machine or desktop machine, so that they were always in control of that information and controlled when it got published to other people to be able to search. So the user would install the software. It's an opt-in from that perspective. They configure what emails we actually look at, so they can control. They can click the folders which are analyzed. Then they can review the profile information that John showed on his machine over there. They can review that and determine what to include, not to include, what privacy settings
Okay, so it's pretty granular
on that.
for them.
Yeah, what privacy settings on each item before they publish that information to the SharePoint server for others in the enterprise to search. So it's a very strong privacy model balancing the user's privacy and sort of the utility of the system.
Okay. So once I go through all this stuff, right, and I download this and I sort of say, here's what I'm willing to share, and I have some control over that. What can I get? What do I get? Like, what can I expect to enjoy?
Because we now have a rich view of your profile, your social network, who you know and what you know,
Right.
that information gets uploaded to the SharePoint server, and it is connected together with everyone else's profiles into sort of this big social network graph, knowledge network graph in the server. And now the ability for you to connect with other people in the organization is much more advanced. So you can go and search for a particular term of expertise, saying you're working on a new project or something, or you're going to be talking to Channel 9 for the first time, and you want to find out some people that know about that. We'll send you back those people results in a search kind of metaphor, and they'll be organized by how you're related to them. So it's not just, here's 1,000 people at Microsoft who are related to Channel 9. It's, here are the people I know that relate to Channel 9, here are people with 2 degrees, here are people with 3 degrees. So we start to organize the search results into your social network.
It's like probably find Kevin Bacon on there, right?
You can, within 6 degrees.
Within 6, okay.
Yeah, so actually, it's funny because every time I show this, and I've shown this probably dozens of times, well, at least 3 dozen times or more at EBCs. That's one of the people that understand the 6 degrees of separation. They always ask me to search on Kevin Bacon. In fact, when I search on it comes up now.
We got to put an entry in the gallery.
We just do. But so right now, we're in beta 1, and we haven't rolled it out formally yet. So those of you who are at Microsoft or watching this thing, feel free to go to http://kn and install the client. That'll make Glen very happy. Always doing marketing. That's right. So the reason is because we have about 300 profiles up there. But just imagine how strong that will be when we have 65,000 profiles up there.
Wow.
Because you can mathematically prove that people are separated by less than 6 degrees. And so, in fact, I did a sort of a thought experiment at one point to just find out who I was less than 6 degrees from, and it turns out I took 2 very strange people. One, maybe I shouldn't say. One was the late Pope John Paul, and another one was Saddam Hussein. And
that reaches pretty far on.
It turns out I'm 4 degrees from both of them. So, by virtue of if you shake hands with Bill Gates and Bill Gates shakes hands with the president, and the president shakes hands with all these other world leaders, you get very close. So that makes you only 4 degrees or 5 degrees from this guy. But so the point that Glen was making about the security is very, very a key one. And we've, like I said, I've presented this to a number of groups, including NATO. And NATO, after explaining the security model to them, they were totally comfortable with it. So one of the reasons that we did it in client-server model is that it gives the full control, the granular control to the user on their PC. Right? And it also helps from a performance perspective as well, because if you're trying to glean 65,000 sets of keywords off of a server, it's going to bog things down a bit.
Sure.
So we basically amortize that across the entire organization.
Okay.
But if you wanted to, as Glenn was talking about, let's say we wanted to find somebody. Let's say somebody was coming to my office to interview me for Channel 9.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a
Let's
people
find
search.
out about that first.
So I'm going to do a people search on Channel 9.
Okay. Oops.
And if I type in Channel 9 up here in the people search
Okay.
field,
Yeah. Yeah.
you just click on search, and it'll churn for a bit, and we'll find that there was 2,304 hits that had either 9 or Channel 9 in their search results. And then under refined by job title, I can click on technical evangelist,
Okay.
and from there you can see there's a gentleman in there by the name of Don Campbell.
Wow.
Now, if you notice, it's listed by social network, because we
Okay.
collect 3 levels of social networking. My colleagues, people I know directly, which Don happens to be one.
Okay.
My colleagues, which are 2nd degree, and then everybody else, which are 3+ degrees.
Okay.
So if I click on find people who know Don, or know this person, it'll show me not only the people that know you, but also list them from social distance to me.
Okay.
So you can see I'm first from a social distance perspective. Mary Alice, who works on my team, is there, and then also Tim Pash.
Oh, okay. I
Now,
know Tim.
now, if I view by relevance, I can also view by relevance, which means who has the
Okay.
strongest relationship with Don, and it turns out to be Kristen Boyd.
Okay. Yeah. Just one of my coworkers, and so is Doug and Gary.
And if I don't
Okay.
know Kristen because he's not somebody that I know
She,
directly,
yeah.
or she,
Mm-hmm.
I just click and find people who know this person, and there I can find my social network. So that's how I leverage
Very
the social
cool.
network.
Yeah.
There's also the ability to find people outside of my organization.
All right.
So let's say I wanted to talk to somebody at Intel. So I'm going to do a search on Intel, and you can see I've got 92 results that we've captured from Intel. And these are people that I know directly. These are my external contacts, and these are my colleagues' external
Well,
contacts.
so these people aren't even in our gal, but it still knows that you're communicating
Yeah.
with them externally via email.
Because it collects external names based
Wow,
on
okay.
email domain.
Actually, so I didn't put that together before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we have over here, if you notice under organizational connections,
Okay.
we have both Primary Intelligence, which is a company that I use to do research, and of course Intel, the chip maker.
Yeah. Okay.
But if let's say I was reading an article from Intel and I wanted to find out a specific person at Intel, and let's say I wanted to talk to Carolyn Brown, and I don't know her, but I can just click on find people who know Carolyn,
Okay.
and then I can see that one of my colleagues, John Martin, Glen's favorite friend,
Okay.
and #1 strength rating in his profile,
Okay.
knows Carolyn, and if I just wanted to contact John, I could actually click here, find people who know this person, and of course I know him.
Right.
But in fact, John Martin used to be in my role right before I took over
Oh, okay.
last April.
Okay.
And then I can go to his profile, and I can see his profile, and he's been a member since 5/18. And I can also use the presence icon here to just call him right from my desktop. So if I wanted to reach out to him, I can, with just a few clicks, not even have to pick up the phone, just call him or set up an instant message or whatever I wanted.
So that's all the live communication server
Yep.
stuff, right?
It leverages
Okay.
the
And so it's
presence.
all integrated in there.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
So it's important to reiterate again here that when John was looking at the external contact information and
Yeah.
Intel, that all of that information was explicitly published by someone who has relationships with those people. So someone has made a choice to publish
okay.
that information. It's not automatically derived
Got
and
it.
published. Someone has made a choice to make that available to John
Right.
Right.
or to the organization.
And the key
Okay.
thing here is if you notice under the external contacts, we don't publish their email address. We basically just publish their name and their company. And that's primarily for privacy reasons.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Because what we're not trying to do is we're not trying to make a great big dumping ground for everybody's black book. What we're really trying
Right.
to do is leverage people's social network.
Mhm.
So when you think about it, in every organization, if you've read The Tipping Point, there's people that are connectors.
Right.
And every organization has like a connector. I call him Bob when I'm doing my presentations to large audiences. Everybody knows a Bob that they can go, oh, Bob, help me with the such and such. And Bob always seems to know the right person or knows the best restaurants or knows, whatever. He's connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're trying to do is kind of find the Bobs in organizations and then democratize that the ability of that social network across an entire organization.
Right.
And when we did a pilot of this internally, in the pilot we got up to 814 users. It generated over 100,000 external contacts. So you can imagine the network effect when you get to 65,000. I'm sure that we'll have Kevin Bacon in there.
I'm sure someone at Microsoft.
But I wanted to show you one other aspect of this. So,
Okay.
so let's say I've got 92 people here
Right.
from Intel, and I've got 2 organizations. But
Okay.
seeing them in this order doesn't give me any context around who these people are unless I'm looking
Right.
for a specific target.
Right.
Now I could search for a target, let's say John Connors at Cisco, but if I'm not looking for a specific target, I just want to find out who has the strongest relationship with this organization. I can then switch, kind of pivot the view under what we call an organizational connection.
Okay.
And now what this is going to do, it's going to kind of turn this on its side, and it's going to show me the people in my organization, in this case Microsoft, who have connections with Intel.
Okay.
And again, this is by default, it shows me in social distance, but I don't want
Right.
to see social distance, I want to see relevance. So I click on relevance, and again, that will pivot it based on who has the strongest strength relationship with this organization. And in this
Okay.
case, it happens to be Todd Ray, who's a business productivity advisor out of
I know
Chicago.
Todd, yeah.
US Group office, right?
Right.
That's Chicago. And he's been a member since 6.5.
Okay.
He's 3 degrees from me. But over here we have what we call the in common panel. So I can actually see the keywords we have in common. So if you were to look at this summary page is sort of the default view of it, what you would see inside of SharePoint.
Okay.
But we add the colleagues page that Todd published. So these are the colleagues that he uploaded, and you can see his strength ratings. And these strength ratings are derived automatically.
What are those stars there on the right?
Right. So
Okay.
3 stars is the strongest relationship,
Right.
2 stars, and then of course 1 star.
Okay.
And the way that's derived is by looking at, there's an algorithm that looks at how often I communicate with that person, how often they reply to my mail, are they on the to line or are they on the CC
So
line?
not only do you know them, but how much do you interact with them?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
Same thing holds true for his external contacts. So these are the external contacts he has. So if I wanted to see, well, he's got Intel and HP pretty wrapped up, so I can also sort by organization. So I can see who are his contacts at Intel
Okay.
and who are his contacts at other organizations.
Right.
And then for keywords, again, I can see his keywords that he's published, which ones he uses most frequently, and it turns out to be Intel is the one.
Where are the keywords? Over on the right?
Right here. These are the keywords, and this is the
I
strength
see.
rating.
I see.
And you can sort by keyword or you can sort by strength rating.
Got it. Okay.
And the keywords are extracted by looking at the email itself, and looking in the subject line,
Right.
and seeing where the keywords are, and then where they exist in roughly basically the first 1,400 words is about where we look, and we look very. It's very. How would you say it? It's designed specifically for Outlook email structure, and that's how we find them. And then again, the use of them is captured. So I could see if I click on any one of them, any one of those keywords can spawn another search. So he has SharePoint. If I wanted to find out who else has SharePoint as a keyword, I can click, and now I've found 9,472 results in just under a second.
Okay.
But I don't want anybody that has SharePoint. Let's say I want to refine by job title. So let's say software development, SDE, software development engineer test. Yeah. So there's my colleagues Darren Miller.
Okay.
Or my colleagues' colleagues. I don't know Darren directly, so I find out who knows Darren, and it turns out Jeffrey Edge knows Darren.
Oh wow. Okay.
So again, and he's a member because he's got his picture up there. At least he's got a profile. At least he's got a portrait page.
Right.
Yeah. So he's a member since 6.
Oh, okay. So this is like my site or yeah. Okay.
Well, it's sort of, yeah, this is my site, so it's a portrait page. And then anything that you've done here to augment it will be included in the results.
So my site is something that's part of SharePoint, right?
Correct.
It's a SharePoint feature where
Yep.
we all have our own My Site.
Yep.
And now we're linking back to that to find out more.
Yep.
Okay.
So this basically takes the My Site and takes it to a higher degree.
Sure. Yeah.
Based on, again, like say, who you know and what you know.
Right.
Yeah, to give you a little history there, the Knowledge Network came out of the Greenhouse organization, which is an incubation organization.
Okay, right.
And we started work on this back in late 2003. And
So Greenhouse is an internal sort of
internal innovation group,
yeah.
incubation group,
ideas
startup group.
come out of there. Okay.
Yeah, and Knowledge Network was one of the first ideas, really around trying to harvest tacit knowledge by looking at digital information. Was the general idea, and we quickly honed in on this idea that people search and helping people connect in the enterprise was a key problem that was it was there in the world that wasn't really being solved that
Right.
well. So. We did in incubation. We go through a series of phases where we research, talk to customers, look at the market, do some technical prototyping, then we do some sort of user prototyping, build some prototypes, get people to deploy it and try it out. So we went through this process. In late 2004, we decided, okay, Microsoft decided we're going to fund this for a V1. At that point, we looked at what's the best vehicle for the customer and for Microsoft to deliver this functionality. And it was obvious that the My Site infrastructure was already there in SharePoint as sort of your personal space in the enterprise.
Yeah, we all use it, right? So
yeah, we all use it, and there's the search interface that all that information gets indexed and it's searchable on the SharePoint Enterprise portal. So we just augmented the My Site to add all this rich harvested tacit information, and then expose some new search scenarios by finding out who knows what scenarios onto the Search Center of SharePoint.
So when I'm doing my searches for people, am I doing that in SharePoint or in the Knowledge Network client, or both? I mean,
you're doing that fundamentally in the SharePoint
right.
web interface. So the information is published to the server, the SharePoint server, to the My Site by the Knowledge Network members. Then it's indexed, and it's made available through the search results.
So the client helps me decide what I want to publish, and gives me all the control, and then the results are, you do the searches on those. So it's all integrated then with the
It's all integrated with SharePoint.
The Office SharePoint Server.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And as I was talking about the visibility settings before, take an example where you're working on a secret project, let's say the next version of Xbox or whatever, and let's call it Project X. Okay. And we don't want anybody to know that we're working on it. So we limit it to just people in our work group, because the people in our work group are working on the same project. So I can go in and I can change the visibility of any term.
Slow down a little bit. Where did you just click there?
What I did is I just brought up my profile manager. I had it open already, so I just brought up my profile manager.
Got it.
And I would just take any one term and make it only visible to my work group. Okay?
Okay.
Now what that means is that SharePoint's still going to be in the database, in this case SharePoint instead of Project X. But let's just say SharePoint was Project X. I would make it only visible to my work group. So if somebody's searching against that, and they'll see Project X in the database, but they won't see my name associated with it. They'll see an anonymous user. And what that looks like is this. So if I go, I'm going to switch over now to going back to an external search, where it says here I'm going to find people that have a connection with Intel. It also says find anonymous connections.
Right.
Okay. So what it would do is it would look like this, and it would say there's an anonymous person that has information about that particular topic.
Okay.
And to reach that person, since I don't know who that person is, they're anonymous obviously, I can check this box and click on Next, and then it'll automatically populate, in this case, connections request for Intel rather than Project X. But then I would just put in a message box right here the information I'm looking for.
Oh, so they'll get a note,
Exactly.
but you don't know who you're sending it to.
Exactly. You don't know who you're
so
sending
they can
it to.
decide whether to...
Could be your boss, so you got to be careful. Like if you say, "Can you get me a job at Google?" You got to be careful.
Yeah.
So what happens is they'll get a receipt saying, or they'll get an email actually that has your name associated with. So in this case, if I send it, it would be my name. John Hand is requesting information on a connection to Intel. In this case. And then let's say Glen's the recipient, and then Glen has a choice of deciding whether or not he wants to help. If Glen decides to help, it's only at that point, as an anonymous contact, is his name revealed to me.
Wow, that's great.
And then if he chooses not to help, I would get a blank receipt back that says that this participant has declined to help at this point.
Okay.
And then I know that I would need to find some other option. Or you can simply delete the mail request, and it's treated like any other mail deleted.
Wow. So in SharePoint today, I know we do searches and we get back people sometimes, right? But this seems like it's just taking that to the whole, a lot more details.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the new version of Office 2000 or Office SharePoint Server 2007.
Thank you. We've been hammering that name around the wrong way this time.
Has just recently been sort of the people search stuff has just recently been rolled out in across Microsoft. So you're probably not that familiar with it, but
yeah,
the SharePoint team has done a ton of work to make the search much more powerful in 2007 than it was in the previous release. And then Knowledge Network comes along and really supercharges your profile by getting at information that's sort of emergent topics in the enterprise or weak connections to people or knowledge that wouldn't otherwise be found because you don't typically publish a lot of documents about a lot of your knowledge, so there's no way someone could ever know about it.
Right.
So we're really supercharging that experience, but as we spent a lot of time trying to integrate the user experience as much as possible so that it's all through the SharePoint People Search Center.
Wow. Now, how do people get this? This is going to be part of Office, the Office SharePoint Server, right? In
This is,
2007.
so this is there's two components to Knowledge Network. There's
Right.
a client component,
Okay.
which does the analysis in your profile manager, and then there's a server component that exposes the My Site, exposes the information on the My Site, it exposes some
Right.
additional search, the connection search, find people who know this person is all Knowledge
And
Network.
so you were saying before, if somebody's licensed for SharePoint
Yep.
to access the Office SharePoint Server, then they would get this as
Yeah.
part of that, right?
It'll be available as a download,
Okay.
add-on to SharePoint.
Got it.
So it'll require Office SharePoint Server 2007 on the back end to install it on top of.
Right.
And then on the client component will run against either Office 2003 or Office 2007
Okay.
to mine your emails.
And so today, it's not part of the Office beta, or is it?
It's not part of the public Office beta. We've
Okay.
just released our first beta at the same time Office 2007 released its beta 2.
Okay.
So we have a closed beta. We have a smaller set of customers that
Right.
are testing it out right now.
Okay. And then what about, have you seen any developers or people kind of using this to build some other interesting things on top of it, or is there an API for this? Or
Yeah,
is it more-
that's a great question. So we have, we do think about this as a platform of rich data around social networks, right? And how people are connected and the knowledge that people have. So we've done some work to expose APIs on the client side, so you can get access to the rich data that we mine on the client if you want to build a client app. But I think the real killer scenarios are on the APIs on the server. So we expose a web service on the server on top of all of our data that allows you to query the information like it's a social network graph. You can specify targets and connectors and find out, who are the people that have connections to people in this department, or who are the people who have connections to this company. Like you saw here, we exposed in our SharePoint search interface. You could take that data and publish it as part of your homegrown CRM system or into
Wow.
a CRM system. So if
Okay.
I'm looking at a particular company like Intel in my CRM system, I can see all the people that might have connections to Intel right along in with a web part or something right aligned with that using our APIs.
Very
So we're working with a few partners to build some solutions on top of this information, and also some of our customers are going to be extending their applications
Sure.
to leverage this data.
And then they're going to be some sort of an SDK at some
Yes.
point. Is that how it's going?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes.
great.
The SDK should be ready at the same time as our software, so we'd be able to download it from the web.
Great. Okay. Well, this is super interesting. Is there anything else you want to show before we wrap it up here?
Glenn?
Do you want to sing that song?
No, maybe we better.
You want to sing
Maybe,
the can jingle?
maybe we better close it down. Thanks a
No.
lot, you guys.
Thank
This is
you,
great.
Don. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.